What we're discussing today is, was Islam spread by the sword? Now, people more educated than I am have covered this topic before and many times, but people still prefer to stick to their bigoted ideas. But still, this is just my response. Okay, I'd like to start off with a few quotes. The first is from DeLacy O'Leary from his book Islam at the Crossroad. He says, "History makes it clear, however, that the legend of fanatical Muslims sweeping through the world and forcing Islam at the point of the sword upon conquered races is one of the most fantastically absurd myths that historians have ever repeated." Secondly, Jonathan Berkey, in his book The Formation of Islam, Religion and Society in the Near East 600 to 1800, he says, "As is well known, the Arabs made no attempt to impose their faith on their new subjects, and at first, in fact, discouraged conversions on the part of non-Arabs." So here's a map of the Islamic Empire. You can see it stretches from the northwest of Africa and Spain to modern-day Pakistan. And now here's a map of where Islam stretches today. It stretches from the west coast of Africa to Indonesia in the Far East. The question to ask is, which Muslim army conquered these lands and forced conversion on these people? Obviously, the answer you come to is none. The following figures are taken from the Phillips Concise Encyclopedia. They're a bit outdated, 1997, but they'll still prove useful to prove my point. 1% of the Moroccan population is Christian. That equates to about 260,000 people. 33% of the Albanian population is Christian. This equates to about 1,110,000 people. Algeria has 2%. That's about 500,000 people. 6% of Egypt is Coptic Christian. That's 3,310,000. 27% of Lebanon is Christian. That's 770,000 people. 9% of Syria is Christian. That's 1,170,000 people. 42% of Malaysia is non-Muslim. That's 7,600,000 people. 13% of Indonesia is non-Muslim. That's 26,770,000 people. In Bangladesh, the non-Muslim population equates to about 15.5 million. So in total, just these 9 countries have a non-Muslim population of 56,990,000. Now tell me, if Muslims actually converted people of other faiths by the point of the sword, this is a fairly large amount to forget about. So let me ask you the question. If Islam was supposed to be spread and propagated at the point of the sword, why then are there still 57 Muslims, non-Muslims, living in Muslim countries? Why have they not been forced to convert? The simple answer: Islam was never spread by the sword. The Quran never teaches Muslims to spread the religion by the sword. Okay, let's take a look at when Muslims had an upper hand and had a chance to seek revenge and convert thousands of Christians. In August Craig's book, The First Crusade, that accounts of eyewitnesses and participants, he quotes Raymond of Argyle's as saying, "Some of our men cut off the heads of their enemies, others shot them with arrows so that they fell from the towers, others tortured them longer by casting them into the flames. Piles of heads, hands and feet were to be seen in the streets of the city. It was necessary to pick one's way over the bodies of men and horses, but these were small matters compared to what happened at the Temple of Solomon, a place of religious services where ordinarily chanted. What happened there? If I tell the truth, it will exceed your powers of belief. So let it suffice to say this much at least, that in the temple and portico of Solomon, men rode in blood up to their knees and bridle reins." So let's compare the action of the Crusaders to the actions of the Muslims when they recaptured Jerusalem. Led by Salahuddin, they also captured many Crusaders. The Crusaders' families appealed to Salahuddin to release them. He decided to ransom them. However, he paid the ransom for many of them. The Christians were pardoned and allowed to leave if they paid a small tribute. Again, Salahuddin paid this for about 10,000 and his brother paid for about 7,000. Those too poor to pay were allocated a special gate where they could leave. In addition, they were provided with transport and safe passage. You can watch the film Kingdom of Heaven, which gives a similar account. Again, you can see no one was forced to convert to Islam when the opportunity was there. I mean, Islam is still spreading today. This here is a report from Emily Wax for the Washington Post, and she reports, since the genocide, Rwandans have converted to Islam in huge numbers. Muslims now make up 14% of the 8.2 million here in Africa's most Catholic nation, twice as many as before the kings began. Many converts say they chose Islam because of the role that some Catholic and Protestant leaders played in the genocide. Human rights groups have documented several incidents in which Christian clerics allowed Tutsis to seek refuge in churches, then surrendered them to the Hutu death squads, as well as instances of Hutu priests and ministers encouraging their congregations to kill Tutsis. In contrast, many Muslim leaders and families are being honoured for protecting and hiding those who were fleeing. But let's forget all that. Let's go straight to the source, to the scripture. Say for a second, I agree with you, Islam was spread by the sword, but does the Quran actually justify spreading the religion by force? So let's take a look at how Muslims are taught to give dawah, or an invitation to Islam. Let's take a look at chapter 2, verse 256. It says, "Let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth has been made clear from error. Whoever rejects evil and believes in God hath grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks, and God heareth and knoweth all things." Here's another quote, chapter 16, verse 125. "Invite all to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious, for thy Lord knoweth best, who have strayed from his path and who receive guidance." So if they dispute, this is chapter 3, verse 20. It says, "So if they dispute with thee, say, I have submitted my whole self to Allah, and so have those who follow me. And say to the people of the book and to those who are unlearned, do ye also submit yourselves? If they do, they are in right guidance. But if they turn back, thy duty is to convey the message, and in Allah's sight are all his servants." And what about if they don't accept the invitation? Do Muslims have to kill them? Well, again, let's go to the scripture. It says in chapter 3, verse 64, "Say, O people of the book, come to common terms as between us and you, that we worship none but Allah, that we associate no partners with him, that we erect not from among ourselves lords and patrons other than Allah. If then they turn back, say ye, bear witness that at least we are Muslims bowing to Allah's will." And if that doesn't work, we find in chapter 109, verse 1 to 6, "Say, O ye that reject faith, I worship not that which ye worship, nor will ye worship that which I worship, and I shall not worship that which you are worshipping, nor will you worship that which I worship. To you be your way, to me mine." So, the question to ask it is now, after all the evidence has been put forward, was Islam spread by the sword? Hopefully, your clear answer is no. So, I hope that helps, and keep an eye out for my next video called "Was Islam Spread by Jizya?"